I'm a guy that's 25. Lego Star Wars is my life. I like Ryan Johnson. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J are back with another video, and this is going to be another episode of collecting every Lego Star Wars minifigure that has been made. If you're not familiar with the series, well, the title is pretty self-explanatory. I want to be collecting every Lego Star Wars minifigure. This does include the rare figures like the Cloud City Boba Fett and the Chrome Gold C-3PO. This does not include the rare one-off minifigures made of rare earth metals, but let's jump right into it. To start things off this week, we have some troops. The first one on the left is a Shadow Trooper. This was in a 2009 magnet set. If you're wondering why this came in a magnet set, what's unique about this one, this is the Shadow Trooper with long line on back. Yeah, these magnet variants are getting out of hand. Like, it's one thing for the figure to basically just kind of be a combination of elements from other already made figures, but I just don't see the reason why there is a run of this minifigure with a longer line on the back. Like, I'll pull up a photo of the one that came in that original battle pack. You can compare it. Basically, this line right here goes across the lower back of the minifig, and that's literally the only difference. I still can't for the life of me imagine why they would change something like that for this magnet figure, other than to make this harder for me down the line to collect all of these minifigures, just making these weird variants. But other than that, everything's pretty much the same on the Shadow Trooper. A lot of people really like this figure. Understandably, it is definitely a cool looking figure. One thing that really sticks out to me, especially having seen the newer version of this, the updated version that came in the 20th anniversary Stormtrooper battle pack set, I guess you'd call it, are the eyes. These eyes are that metallic silver color, and they just pop so much. It looks cool, but it just, I don't know, they pop so much it doesn't even look realistic, if that makes sense. They are very jarring to look at these just shiny eyes on this Stormtrooper helmet. But like I said, very cool looking minifigure. I think a lot of people back in the day really appreciated this guy. Next up, we have yet another clone variant. This is the Phase 2 clone with the dotted mouth pattern. This came in a 2010 Rebel Swamp Speeder set. The unique thing about this figure is, like I said, the dotted mouth pattern. They basically put like a Stormtrooper mouth on the Clone Trooper, which is weird because they did it just for this one set, and just looking at it, it looks weird. Like, I don't know if my camera can even get a super close look at it now. Hopefully you guys can tell. Basically the mouth is gray with some black lines going through it. And that's, once again, the only unique thing about this figure, which of course begs the question, why did they bother trying to put a Stormtrooper mouth on a Clone Trooper? Some of these variants are just kind of ridiculous, honestly. The torso does look pretty nice, especially for being a 2010 figure. I don't believe this is the original torso that came on the original Phase 2 clone, but this is an updated version of it, and it looks pretty nice. It looks accurate. Also has some decent back printing, no leg printing, of course, which, I mean, looking at a clone like this, it really is shocking to see just how far Lego has come, especially with leg printing now being a standard. The torso printing is more or less the same, just maybe slightly updated. But of course, the helmet is the big difference. I'd like to say that this helmet is nostalgic for me. I mean, it kind of is. Like, obviously, this is the helmet that I grew up with. This is the helmet of the first clone that I ever owned when I was a young kid. But the shaping is just so wrong. Like Lego's done such a better job with the newer clones that I can't even say that I'd buy this out of nostalgia. The only reason I'd buy this is to fill up my minifig wall. So those are the first two figures out of the way. Next up, we have this gang of heroes. Yeah, whatever. Starting to the left, we have Gold Leader, aka Dutch Vander, aka Hutch, depending on who you ask. This came in the 2012 Y-Wing set. The weird thing about this figure is I have that set. I think I bought that set used. But I didn't have this figure for some reason. Maybe the figures didn't come in it. But the more weird part of it is I actually had this helmet. I just didn't have a figure to go with it. So when I was buying this figure, it actually did. I found a cheaper version, basically the version with the normal Rebel helmet. And I just swapped the helmets because the torso, face, and legs were all the same. And boom, I finally had my completed Dutch Vander. I just imagined that I had, an extra one of this version of the X-Wing pilot or Y-Wing pilot just to put in this helmet, but apparently I didn't, so I had to order a new one. It's really not even worth going over the jumpsuit, but I will show you guys the helmet. this is just one of the cool things about Lego. We get so many variants of these helmets that, at least for me, it's always exciting to look at the different patterns in them. So he has basically like a dark gray base with some white lines on top of it, that front of Rebel helmet logo right there, and then the red stripe that kind of goes towards the back, and the same design on the other side. So pretty cool looking helmet. Like, obviously we've had a much better updated version of the jumpsuit and even the headpiece, but I think the helmet, this figure is worth getting just to have another unique helmet. If you're like me, you appreciate these helmets. I just try to collect all of them, and it's a good thing to just throw in the back of a mock, you know. Spice up your Rebel pilot collection with some more unique helmets. This figure, oh man. So at first glance you say, oh, that's Obi-Wan with a hood. No, it actually isn't. This is apparently supposed to be Qui-Gon. In my notes here next to me, I actually wrote Qui-Gon with a question mark. So this is, I honestly have no idea how this happened, but basically this was supposed to have come in that 2007 Republic Cruiser set. Some versions of it came with the actual Qui-Gon, like the traditional Qui-Gon face and flesh tone that we've come to expect from a figure like this. And for whatever reason, some of them came with this episode 3 Obi-Wan face. I did have this set when I was younger, so the version I got had the Qui-Gon head, which I'm very happy about. Like, if this would have come in the set that I got when I was younger, I would have been very upset, because it was basically the first time I would have had a flesh tone Qui-Gon, and I wanted it to be accurate. I didn't just want another episode 3 Obi-Wan. Like, I could have done this myself. I didn't need to get this set to get this Qui-Gon. But yeah, that is just so weird to me, the fact that, I don't know if this was like a production error that was just widespread or what, but yeah, some versions of this set just straight up came with episode 3 Obi-Wan's head. What more can I even say about this? So the torso is pretty standard from that set. Both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were both sporting the same torso and pants. As for back printing, check it out. There is none. Of course there's none. This is 2007. But yeah, this is just one of those weird figures that I look at and I'm like, this is apparently supposed to be Qui-Gon. This is Qui-Gon, guys. And now the last figure. This is another variant I don't understand. I feel like this episode is mostly just going to be variants I don't understand. So this is the Dagobah Luke. This came in that 2004 X-Wing set that came with Yoda's hut. But this is the version with his backpack. As for why Bricklink and Brickset both catalog those as separate figures is beyond me. I already have this figure. This is a figure that Brick Plumber actually sent to me, I think, which was awesome because this is not a super cheap figure. I think I spent like 22, 25 bucks on this one. But the backpack, like, this is apparently a different figure because he has the backpack, which is super annoying because it doesn't make sense. It's the same set. Like, he shouldn't be a different figure just because he's wearing a backpack. But I'm trying to adhere to the Bricklink/Brickset standards, which required me to go and buy this figure. I'm not super complaining because it is a cool figure. Like, for the longest time, like, this was the only training Dagobah Luke that we had pretty much until, what, last year? I think was last year the first time they released that updated version of this Anakin. Maybe that was 2018. 2018 or 2019 is when they released that set. And I mean, this was it. Like, this was just the only training Luke that we had, which is kind of funny, man. He's sporting that just classic, you know, classic Lego hair, classic Luke Skywalker face. Cool looking figure. The torso is actually unique to that set. It's Luke in his tank top, which is, I don't know, kind of cool. Standard old gray pants. Of course, no double face because this is an older figure, so nothing really of note to check out there. But this is Luke Skywalker with his backpack. The last figure we have today is an interesting one. It is the bow-armed monk from the original Jabba's Palace set in 2003. Obviously, there's not much to talk about here by way of a minifigure. It is a brick-built figure. They're using these cool ninja swords for the legs. And this nice, like, it's not a fishbowl piece. This is they kind of like a lantern encasing piece, and they basically just throw a 1x1 red, trans neon orange, I think is the correct color, trans neon orange stud in there, and that's basically just supposed to be the flame that's in there. And the one cool thing about this figure is, like, if you're looking through this, the way that this bowl is shaped, it makes it actually look like a flame in there, like it kind of skews the color up. Like if you're looking at this, you probably wouldn't even realize that that's supposed to be just a 1x1 stud if you're looking at it from this angle, but you tilt it up, you can maybe tell a little bit better. So that's just kind of a cool effect on this figure. Lego did re-release this in the newer Jabba's Palace set. If I'm not mistaken, the build is pretty much almost exactly the same. So this was, I guess, a figure with some longevity in Lego's eyes, which is kind of cool. But it's nice to have this figure. Like, this was something I remember so distinctly from the Lego Star Wars 2 video game. So it's kind of weird holding one of these in my hand right now. So we got all the figures out of the way now. Let's go ahead and go to the time lapse and put these on the wall. All right, we're checking out the wall once more. You can see everything is looking pretty good. Getting nice and full. So I like to see it. So up here, we'll start off with the Cloud City gang. We got the 2 Lukes right here, finally. Once again, that's so annoying. One weird thing is that Boba's actually separated, like, minifig number from these two. Like, obviously, those guys were in the actual Cloud City set. This was in that Dagobah set. And Boba's over there for some reason, all by his lonesome. That's kind of sad. I had to do some finagling to get this Bomar Monk to sit here, because I didn't have an actual spot for it. So I just kind of clipped him into the wall. Obviously, once I reorient things, I give him the appropriate amount of space. But for now, he's covering up the Gaunt Droid as well as the Gamorrean Guard. So don't get mad at me. That's just the best I could do. Pretty much same situation with the Shadow Trooper over here. I did not have enough space for the Shadow Trooper with the long line on his back, so I had to stand him up next to his short-lined friend. If we come down a little bit, we'll find ourselves the clone with the dotted mouth, and he's actually sitting next to that Barriss Offee that comes in that same set. So things are looking pretty good right here. And finally, we have my boy, Dutch Vander, chilling next to the rest of the Gold Leaders Y-Wing crew. So overall, wall's looking good as usual. It makes me so happy to see just how full the top section is looking. Like, you really have to look hard to notice a lot of the gaps. Like, obviously there's the bigger gaps like those in there, but the individual ones are becoming more fewer and far between. So that's looking pretty good. One thing I did notice, probably, when was it, like a week ago, was some of the gaps that I have are things that are minifigs that I've taken out of sets and that I actually just can go ahead and move to the wall. So, and some of them are literally just figures that I've just taken off to just look at that I haven't put back on the wall. So I may actually be doing that for the next update. Like, obviously I'll get some more figures, but I probably will also make it a point to look in my room, look in mocks, look in everything I have, and make sure that anything that I don't care to not have on the wall actually goes back onto the wall. So you'll see actually the wall looking a lot more full, which is going to be pretty nice for me to really get an idea of just how much progress I've made. But that being said, that's going to finish up today's update, guys. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.